Hey man, being married to a narcissist woman is not like being in a normal relationship. It's like being slowly pulled into quicksand while being convinced that you're standing on solid ground. At first she seems perfect. In fact, she feels too perfect. She studies you, mirrors your personality, your humor, your dreams, your values. She makes you feel like she's your soulmate. Every conversation feels magical. Every interaction feels like destiny. But what you don't realize in those early stages is that this isn't love. It's love bombing. It's the hook. She's not loving you for who you are. She's learning how to manipulate you by becoming exactly what you want. And when you're in that honeymoon stage, it feels intoxicating. You feel chosen. You feel seen. You feel understood on a level no one else has reached. But that's exactly what she wants, because the higher she lifts you, the further you'll fall when she pulls it all away. Once she knows she's got you, the subtle shifts begin. At first they're so small you convince yourself they're nothing. A sarcastic jab here, a little guilt tripping there, a joke about your flaws that doesn't feel so funny. You tell yourself she's just in a bad mood, that you're overthinking, that every couple has ups and downs. But these aren't isolated incidents. They're the opening moves in a game you don't even know you're playing. A narcissist woman thrives on control, and the first step to controlling you is breaking down your self-esteem piece by piece. She doesn't come at you like an enemy. She comes at you like someone who knows you better than you know yourself. And that's exactly why the attacks land so deeply. They're not random, they're surgical. She knows exactly where to hit. The most confusing part about being married to a narcissist woman is the constant back and forth between affection and cruelty. One day, she's warm, attentive, making you feel like you're the most important person in the world. The next day, she's cold, distant, and emotionally unreachable. This emotional whiplash is intentional. It keeps you chasing the version of her you fell in love with, the version you saw at the beginning. And the more you chase, the more she pulls away. The dynamic becomes addictive, like a gambler chasing a jackpot that never comes. You start thinking, if I can just do the right thing, say the right words, be the right man, she'll go back to who she was. But that version of her was never real. It was a mask. And now you're trapped in the cycle of trying to win back something that never actually existed. Over time, the relationship becomes a constant negotiation with yourself. You find yourself explaining away her behavior to friends, family, even to yourself. You tell people she's stressed, that work has been hard on her, that she's just passionate. You start editing your own personality, avoiding certain topics, being careful with your tone, thinking twice before sharing your successes or struggles. Why? Because you've learned the hard way that anything you say can be twisted and used against you. Your victories make her insecure, your failures make her cruel, and your emotions, whether happiness, sadness, or frustration, are all opportunities for her to manipulate the narrative. You stop being fully yourself because the cost of authenticity is too high. What's worse is that a narcissist woman knows exactly how to keep up appearances. To the outside world, she's charming, witty, and magnetic. People think you're lucky to be married to her. She plays the role of the perfect wife in public, smiling, affectionate, maybe even bragging about you just enough to seem supportive. But behind closed doors, it's a different story. The charm turns off like a switch, the affection disappears, and you're left wondering how someone can be so loving to strangers, but so cold to the man she promised to love. That's when you start to realize her public image is part of her control. Because if she looks perfect to everyone else, who will believe you when you say she's tearing you apart? The gaslighting is one of the most dangerous weapons she has, and it's so subtle you don't even notice it at first. You remember an argument a certain way, but when you bring it up, she swears it never happened, or she insists you're remembering it wrong. She'll say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You always twist my words," until you start questioning your own perception of reality. Over time, you begin to doubt yourself in ways you never did before. You start thinking, maybe I am overreacting, maybe I am the problem, and that's exactly where she wants you. Confused, self-doubting, and looking to her for clarity. The cruel irony is that the person causing your confusion becomes the same person you turn to for reassurance. That dependency, that's her endgame. There's also an unspoken hierarchy in the marriage that you never agreed to, but somehow find yourself living under. Her needs come first, always. Your needs are secondary, optional, or even a burden. If she's upset, the entire household has to adjust. If you're upset, you're told to man up or get over it. And because you're a man, you swallow it. You convince yourself that being strong means enduring it. But what you don't see in the moment is that you're not being strong, you're being drained. She feeds off the imbalance. The more you bend, the more she expects you to bend, and slowly, without realizing it, you go from being her partner to being her emotional supply, her scapegoat, her punching bag. The most exhausting part isn't even the fights, it's the unpredictability. You never know which version of her you're gonna get when you walk through the door. Sometimes she's affectionate, playful, and everything you ever wanted. Sometimes she's cold, dismissive, and ready to pick a fight over nothing. The inconsistency keeps you in a constant state of alertness, scanning for signs of her mood, adjusting your behavior to avoid triggering her. You live in reaction mode, and that constant tension starts to rewire your brain. Even when she's being good, you can't relax because you know it's only a matter of time before the storm comes again. And the worst part? She knows you're walking on eggshells and she likes it. It means she has you under control. You'll notice that over time you start to shrink as a person. You laugh less, you share less, you stop bringing up your dreams because she either minimizes them or turns them into a competition. You stop talking about your struggles because she uses them later to cut you down. And in the rare moments you try to stand your ground, she flips the script. Suddenly she's the victim and you're the cold, unloving husband. It's a twisted magic trick she's perfected. No matter what happens, you end up feeling guilty. And guilt is her leash. As long as you feel guilty, you'll keep apologizing, keep overcompensating, keep trying to win back a peace that never lasts. But here's what most men married to a narcissist woman don't realize until it's too late. The cycle is designed to make you forget who you were before her. When you first met, you had hobbies, friends, ambitions. Slowly, those things start to fade. You cancel plans with friends because she needs you. You stop pursuing your own goals because they don't fit with her agenda. You give up pieces of yourself to keep the marriage afloat. And one day you wake up and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. That's not an accident. A narcissist woman can only fully control you when you're isolated, worn down, and doubting your own worth. And once you're there, she doesn't have to cage you, you cage yourself. The breaking point doesn't come all at once, it creeps up on you. It's not one massive blowout fight that suddenly wakes you up. It's 1,000 small cuts over years. The smirks when you share good news, the icy silence when you've done nothing wrong, the casual put-downs disguised as jokes, the way she withholds affection, intimacy, or even basic kindness, unless it benefits her. And then one day, something small happens. Maybe she belittles you in front of someone else. Maybe she dismisses your feelings with that same smirk, and you feel something snap inside. It's not rage, it's not even sadness, it's something far quieter, detachment. That's the moment you stop seeing her as your wife and start seeing her as she really is, a manipulator in a beautiful disguise. When that detachment sets in, you begin to see the patterns clearly. You realize every loving moment she gave you had strings attached. Every compliment was a setup for a future criticism. Every act of kindness was part of a trade you didn't know you were making. And when you start pulling back emotionally, she notices immediately. Narcissist women can sense when their control is slipping. It's almost instinctive. That's when she'll try to reel you back in. She'll turn on the charm, suddenly become affectionate, maybe even apologize for the first time in years. But understand this, it's not real remorse, it's a tactic. She's not trying to fix the marriage, she's trying to fix her control over you. The cruelest part is how much she knows your weaknesses. She's studied you from day one. She knows the exact words to make you second guess yourself. She knows when to praise you just enough to keep you hooked. And she knows how to make you feel like you're the one destroying the relationship if you pull away. That's the trap. You start thinking, maybe I am too distant, maybe I am being cold, maybe I can try harder. And every time you try harder, you give her another chance to drain you. What you don't realize until you're out is that there's nothing you could have done to make it work. Because a narcissist isn't looking for love, they're looking for supply. And once you've stopped giving it, they'll either punish you into submission or find someone else who will. You also begin to notice how performative her public image is. To outsiders, she's charming, graceful, even selfless. She'll gush about you in front of others, play the part of the supportive wife, and laugh at all the right moments. But this isn't for you, it's for her audience. Because if everyone believes she's the perfect wife, your reality becomes harder to explain. That's part of the psychological prison. You stop telling people what's really going on because you know they won't believe you. And in that silence, her power grows. She gets to be the angel in public while you carry the weight of the truth in private. At some point, you begin to grieve, not just for the marriage, but for yourself. You grieve the man you were before her. You grieve the trust you used to have in people. You grieve the years you'll never get back. and that grief turns into something important: clarity. You realize you can't change her, you can't fix her, and you can't keep living in a cycle that only serves her ego. That's the moment you stop looking for the woman you fell in love with and start accepting the woman you actually married. And once you see that truth without sugarcoating it, you'll never unsee it again. That's when you start planning, not for the next fight, not for the next apology, but for your escape. The moment you start pulling away, she feels it. It's almost uncanny, like she has a sixth sense for emotional distance. You won't even need to say a word, she'll know, and her reaction will depend on how much she fears losing control. At first, she might try to draw you back in with affection, sudden compliments, unexpected intimacy, a softness you haven't seen in months or even years. It's jarring because part of you wants to believe it's real, but then you remember, it's not love, it's strategy. If that doesn't work, she'll switch tactics, the charm will vanish, and the cruelty will return. She'll provoke you, bait you, try to get you to explode so she can paint you as the problem. The goal isn't to resolve anything. The goal is to pull you back into the emotional chaos where she has the advantage. One of her favorite weapons at this stage is rewriting history. She'll take your past fights, twist the details, and retell the story in a way where she's the victim and you're the aggressor. She'll act like you're pulling away as proof that you never really loved her. She'll say things like, "You've changed," as if your change is the problem, not her behavior. And because you've been conditioned for so long to doubt yourself, these accusations still sting. You find yourself defending actions you took years ago, explaining decisions that shouldn't even need explaining. It's exhausting, and that's the point. The more mentally drained you are, the easier you are to control. She might also escalate in more covert ways, subtle sabotage that chips away at your stability. Maybe she spreads little rumors among friends and family, planting seeds that you're difficult or emotionally distant. Maybe she starts controlling finances more tightly, making you feel dependent. Or maybe she uses intimacy as a bargaining chip, giving it when she wants something, withholding it when she wants to punish you. These aren't random acts of cruelty. They're moves in a psychological chess game where every piece she moves is meant to box you in. And if you're not paying attention, you'll wake up one day to find that every exit has been quietly blocked. But here's the turning point. Once you've emotionally detached, her power starts to fade. The insults don't hit the same way. The guilt trips lose their sting. The manipulation starts to feel almost predictable, like you've seen this movie before and already know how it ends. And the more you stop reacting, the more desperate she becomes. This is when you truly see the mask slip, when the charming, in-control woman you married turns into someone erratic, panicked, and even vindictive. She's not fighting for the marriage at this point, she's fighting for control, because without control, she has nothing. Ironically, this is when she'll accuse you of being the narcissist. It's a classic projection. She'll tell people you're cold, that you're manipulative, that you're the one who destroyed the marriage. And here's the part that stings. You can't stop her from telling that story, and some people will believe it. But the truth is, you don't need to. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your innocence is the moment you stop living under her spell. You realize that your peace, your sanity, and your self-respect are worth far more than the approval of anyone who can't see through her facade. And that's the moment you start walking, not just away from her, but back toward yourself. Leaving her isn't like leaving a normal relationship. It feels more like breaking out of a mental prison. At first, the silence feels strange. You've been so used to living in constant tension, always waiting for the next criticism or mood swing, that peace almost feels uncomfortable. But then slowly, you start to notice small freedoms. You can speak without fear of your words being twisted. You can make plans without worrying about them being sabotaged. You can enjoy your own company without feeling guilty for not giving her your attention. And it's in those quiet, ordinary moments, making coffee in the morning, walking outside without your phone blowing up, that you start to remember what life was supposed to feel like all along. Of course, she won't let go easily. Narcissist women hate losing control, and the idea of you moving on without her is unbearable to her ego. So she might try to hoover you back in, sending "I miss you" texts, pretending to have changed, even using other people to relay messages. Or she might go the other way, launching a smear campaign to destroy your reputation. The important thing is to recognize that both responses are driven by the same need, to keep you in her orbit. And the only way to truly win is not to engage. No responses, no justifications, no explanations. Because the moment you reply, even in anger, you've given her exactly what she wants, your attention. As time passes, you begin to understand just how much of yourself you lost in that marriage. It's not just your confidence, it's your voice, your spontaneity, your belief in love, and rebuilding those things doesn't happen overnight. There are days you feel strong and certain, and days you feel like the damage might be permanent. But here's the truth, you can rebuild, and when you do, you come back sharper, stronger, and far more aware. You learn to spot manipulation early. You learn to set boundaries that aren't negotiable. You learn that your peace is not something you can afford to trade for the illusion of love, and somewhere in that healing process, you'll have a moment where you realize you're actually grateful for the experience, not because it was good, but because it showed you what you will never allow again. It showed you the cost of ignoring red flags. It showed you the danger of thinking you can fix someone who thrives on breaking others down. It showed you that love without respect is nothing but control in disguise. And most importantly, it showed you that the man you were before her, the man she tried to erase, is still there, waiting to be reclaimed. In the end, what it's like being married to a narcissist woman is something you can't fully explain to anyone who hasn't lived it. It's a war fought in silence, a prison without visible bars. But when you finally get out, you understand something that changes you forever. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And when you protect that, when you refuse to hand it over to anyone, no matter how beautiful, charming, or convincing they are, you become untouchable. That's the real victory. Not proving her wrong, not making her regret losing you, but walking away, knowing she can never take from you again what you fought so hard to reclaim. Your peace, your power, and your self-respect. You've probably been told that the best way to win a woman is to open up, express your feelings, share your story, be vulnerable. But here's what no one tells you. When a man shares too much too soon, he gives away his edge. You've kept your story close to your chest. You've shown up without a need to be understood. That's rare. Because women are used to men unloading their emotions like a therapy session in disguise. But you move differently. You speak when you mean it, not because you need to be heard. And that makes your words carry weight. That's why when you say something, people stop and listen. Because you don't talk just to fill silence. You speak to reveal truth. And women deep down crave that masculine depth more than anything else. There's a reason why the most masculine men are the most mysterious. It's because masculinity, in its highest form, isn't loud. It's unshaken. You've been walking around thinking you need more confidence, more charisma, more dominance, but you don't. What you need is exactly what you already have, composure. When a woman tests you and you don't react, she notices. When she throws shade and you don't flinch, she respects you. When you don't try to out-talk her, out-text her, out-flirt her, you elevate yourself to a level few men ever reach, and suddenly she's the one chasing, not because you played a trick, but because you embodied the one thing she's never truly had. A man who knows who he is without needing her to confirm it. You know what gets a woman more emotionally hooked than compliments, gifts, or attention? It's the emotional contrast of being around a man she can't quite figure out. When you're not always available, when your energy is steady, when your mood doesn't change based on hers, that's the kind of emotional experience that makes her addicted. Why? Because most men mirror women. They rise and fall with her chaos, but not you. You anchor her. And that anchor, your emotional strength, is something she doesn't get anywhere else. It becomes a source of safety and obsession. It makes her want to dive deeper. It makes her crave your validation because she knows you don't hand it out easily. You're not cold, you're composed. And that composure, it's erotic to a feminine woman. Let's be honest, most women don't remember the men who worshipped them. They remember the man who didn't. They remember the man who gave them space, not neediness. The man who asked powerful questions but didn't overshare. The one who made her feel something without trying. That's you. Even when you thought you weren't doing enough, your restraint was the reason she remembered you. Even when you said less, your energy said more. Women don't crave more of you, they crave access to you. And the more limited that access is, the more their desire intensifies. The guy who's always available fades fast. The one she had to earn, he lives in her mind rent-free. And you, by default or design, have been that man all along. You don't need to become someone else to be desirable. You already are. You just haven't been aware of how powerful your presence actually is. The way you walk, the way you breathe, the way you sit in silence, those things have impact. You've been walking around as if you're unnoticed, when in reality you've been unforgettable. The world taught you to chase, to prove, to show off. But the men who are most desired, they do none of that. They observe, they choose, they lead, and they do it all without noise. You're one of those men. Maybe you've been doubting yourself because the results weren't immediate, but attraction, real attraction, takes time to build. And once it hits hard. Just wait, she'll come back. They always do. You've walked through life wondering why some women seem drawn to you, but never said it out loud. Why they lingered a little longer, laughed a little louder around you, asked unnecessary questions just to keep you talking. And it's because deep down they felt something different about you. You weren't trying to get anything from them. You weren't performing for validation. You weren't chasing. And that absence of pressure, that absence of need, made you feel safe and dangerous at the same time. Safe because you were stable, dangerous because you could walk away at any time and mean it. That paradox, the man who could protect her and abandon her in the same breath, is the most seductive energy a woman can experience, and you unknowingly have always had it. A woman's attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. It's not what you do, it's what she feels when she's near you. And the reason she feels so much when you're silent, when you're detached, when you're simply being, is because your energy is whole. You're not trying to plug holes with attention or control. You're not broadcasting insecurity maze as confidence. You're just there, full, grounded, still, and that stillness acts like a mirror. She starts to see herself more clearly. She notices how loud she is, how reactive, how scattered, and instead of resenting you for it, she becomes magnetized. Because feminine energy seeks masculine grounding, like fire seeks oxygen, not to be smothered, but to be intensified, and your presence is that oxygen. Not to be smothered, but to be intensified, and your presence is that oxygen. The truth is, most men are so thirsty for a woman's affection that they end up becoming forgettable. You've been the opposite. You don't beg, you don't please, you don't perform, and that's exactly why you've remained in her mind long after other men have disappeared. She might not admit it, she might not even understand it, but part of her feels safer around you because you are not emotionally erratic. You don't chase her highs, you don't fall into her lows, and that makes her trust you even before she trusts herself. You see, true masculine attraction isn't about being physically dominant, it's about being emotionally unfazed, and that's what you offer. Not attention, not gifts, but gravity. You make her feel the floor again. Maybe you haven't had the wildest dating history. Maybe women didn't throw themselves at you the way they did at louder guys, but that doesn't mean you weren't desired. It means you were respected. You see, there's a quiet power in being the man who never tries to be liked. And ironically, that's the man women end up loving the most, because he's the only one they can't predict, the only one who doesn't crumble at their emotions, the only one who treats himself as the prize and means it. You've been attractive, not because you tried to be, but because you refused to compromise your essence. And the world may have called it shy, quiet, distant, but in truth, it was power disguised as detachment. So stop asking if you're attractive. Stop wondering if you're good enough. You are, you always have been. You just live in a world that only recognizes loud, flashy, needy displays of false confidence. But the real ones, the rare masculine men who walk their own path, they're never seen at first. They're felt. And once a woman feels you, feels your presence, your silence, your stillness, she never forgets it. Attraction is not about trying, it's about being. And the reason she thought about you when she shouldn't have, the reason she looked for you in someone else, the reason she never got over that one moment you shared, is because you weren't just another guy. You were a man, a real one. And that's the most attractive thing of all.